Okay.
Okay, so I'll now start. I'd like to introduce Eileen, and Eileen's from Ireland and has multiple sclerosis. Welcome, Eileen.
Hello, Linda. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you. Could you tell us when you first noticed MS symptoms?
I first had my MS symptoms 32 years ago.
Hmm.
I was 27 and I was playing a hockey match.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden, I was having quadruple vision.
Right.
And obviously, followed that up with going to the doctors. And then I was sent to the Royal Victoria Hospital in Belfast for uh, to see a consultant there. And they did a lumbar puncture
Hmm.
and they diagnosed MS
When you were 27.
when I was 27.
Wow. So how did that affect you psychologically, being given that label at such an early age?
It was damaging,
Mm.
but I adopted a well-worn tactic of I just put my head in the sand and went on.
Hmm.
And I never really had much bother with MS until 3 years ago.
Hmm. And what
I mean,
happened then?
so I was aware I was slowing down,
Mm.
but I just always thought I kept it in the back of my head. Nobody knew about it apart from my husband and myself.
Hmm.
And then 3 years ago, while I was playing golf one day, and the girl I played with said, "Have you hurt your leg?" I said, "No." "Why?" She says, "Because I thought you were dragging it a bit." And that was a big wake-up call. I realized I was getting very tired after a game of golf. In fact, I didn't recognize it, but no, now it was just fatigue.
Hmm.
So that was the beginning of sort of what's happening now.
Mm.
I then went to a consultant uh, who gave me an MRI scan, and he said fair enough, it was diagnosed all those years ago, but he would have to do his own diagnosis. So he did an MRI scan March 2 years ago
Hmm.
and confirmed, uh, and the diagnosis was secondary progressive.
Right. So what symptoms did you have then, Eileen?
Symptoms then was sounds a bit daft. I could no longer walk 18 holes of golf, fatigue, and that was really it.
Hmm.
Uh, it has progressed now that I still play golf, but I have to play in a buggy.
Hmm.
I have, I noticed that my worst symptoms are my balance can be affected, and obviously clearance on my right leg isn't as good as it used to be. So I do find that I'm always frightened of tripping,
Hmm.
and uh, that's the worst. It's not being able to walk long distances, or I mean, I can I can walk a mile on a treadmill without any bother, but I can't. If I walk on the footpaths, I get very anxious, thinking, I could trip, or on a treadmill I can stop and get off and get into the car, but here I have to turn around and walk a mile back,
Yes.
which I think causes anxiety. So I find walking on the treadmill a lot easier.
So how did you find out about LDN?
I, a friend of mine, her husband suffers from Parkinson's, and he goes into a site called Medical News Today,
Hmm.
searching, for news on Parkinson's, and he forwarded an article which was written by yourself. Was written, came up on Medical News Today on the 22nd of October '09,
Hmm.
and he forwarded it on to me saying, you might be interested in this, Eileen. And I was very interested in it, and started to try and find out about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the consultant that I had been to, uh, I didn't really gel with his attitude to things, because as I left, he said, I can't do anything for you, just get on with your life.
Mm.
And the more I thought about it, I just became, it annoyed me, because I felt I had no life to get on with.
Mm.
So I changed consultants. Not that I thought I was going to get a different diagnosis, but I
Yes.
thought I can't work with this man. So I got an appointment with a neurologist at the Royal Victoria called Michael Watt, and I went to see him, and I said to him, have you ever heard of low dose naltrexone? He said he had, and he offered to prescribe it for me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So at, before I went to him, I didn't know that he did prescribe it. He is actually, I think, the only person in Belfast who will prescribe it.
Mm.
So he gave me a prescription, and I got it, or it got the liquid form from Dixon's Chemists in Edinburgh.
Yes.
All of this took, quite a few weeks to set up. And so I started it in November, 23rd November, 09.
Mm-hmm.
Started off on it at 1 ml and then gradually increasing to 4.5. And then last January, I changed to the capsules,
Yes.
4.5 ml capsules, which are tremendous. There's no mess with them. And my GP now prescribes LDN for me.
Oh, fantastic. That is good news.
Hmm.
So how do you feel now you've been on LDM?
I feel it has definitely, it removes fatigue. For me, that's what it's done.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say for sure it has stopped the progression of MS, because it hasn't really, because my walking has got worse.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but definitely it has lifted the fatigue. I mean, everybody gets tired, and sometimes it's hard to know if this is just ordinary tiredness or whether it's MS tiredness. But I very seldom, and I hope I'm not saying the wrong thing when I say this, very seldom suffer from that awful fatigue. So I do believe that's what LDN has done for me.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think anybody who suffers from chronic fatigue of any description should be put on LDN, because I think it lifts the mind out of that sort of state.
So you said before when the neurologist said to you, go and get on with your life, and you felt you hadn't got any life to get on with.
Yeah.
Do you feel you now have a life?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at that point, I was just crushed.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't play golf, and golf was a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, and I wasn't very good. I mean, I'd hidden it for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I found it very difficult to come out, as it were.
Yes.
And people were very shocked.
Mm.
And it took me a while to cope with other people, because,
So how is your golf now? I know you have to use a buggy, but are you able to swing and
oh,
whatever it is
absolutely.
you golfers do? Yeah.
Yes, I swing, I hit the ball, I win prizes. Um, but,
Well, that is really good, isn't it? That you're still able to get on with your life and achieve
yeah, I
obviously
mean,
things you want.
I'm, I get really frustrated, because I know that I'm starting to sort of at times drag the right leg. It's becoming a bit of a limp. Up and down stairs is not good.
Mm.
But I'm getting back into my golf and enjoy it. Um, I started going to the gym.
Hmm.
Got a personal trainer and trying to build up a bit more strength in the knees and stamina in the legs to really to stop sort of the muscles fading away to nothing altogether.
Are you working on your core muscles as well?
I have no idea.
I'll ask your trainer because by strengthening your core muscles actually helps your legs, the core
All right.
muscles
Well,
at
I
the back.
mentioned that to him. I'm
Yeah.
sure he's doing that. I mean, he's aware of my situation,
Hmm.
and so we've. I've only been today. Actually, was my third session with him. Uh, so I'll have to mention that to him next time. He's doing a lot of stretching, leg stretching, hamstring, stretching the muscles at the front of the legs, squats, strengthening the knees. So I would imagine that will all come into it.
Hmm.
Uh, and but I just say to him, I mention the core muscles uh,
Yes.
because say, well, I've told him my situation,
Hmm.
that I couldn't go to the gym and work out for an hour
No.
because then 2 day, 36 hours later, I would
Mm.
be dragging myself around the house.
Exactly. Yes.
Uh, so we're taking things gradually, and so far so good.
Good. What would you say to other people who are contemplating trying LDN?
Go for it, absolutely. No hesitation whatsoever.
Hmm.
Uh, I think that anything I have read, I don't believe I've ever read anybody who's had a downside to it,
Hmm.
even if it's only to lift your mood out of a deep depression. I think it's absolutely worth it. Go
Hmm.
for it every time. Harass your GP. I didn't have to harass mine too much. He gave in very easily, actually. Um, but they certainly won't offer it to anybody. You have to go in and ask for it. And I read somewhere, I think probably on a LDN site, that if you can uh, convince your GP that any drug is off therapeutic has therapeutic